DailyWire, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, the rest of the gang. After making a murderer, these people started popping up and populating the YouTube community. And we got our list of people. Linda K. Byrie, you had her on. Okay. You've had some of them on. Maybe you have me on. I'll find out. But they were vocal. They started putting out videos almost right away. You know. Convicted of murder is already 3 weeks, coming up 1 month. 1 month. 1 month. And making a murderer had a lot more flurry to it. A lot more people jumping out there. A lot more people saying stuff. Convicted of murder. Insert soundbite crickets here. Okay? You know? These people aren't doing it. These people are not jumping out here doing it. Do you see them out here doing it? Do you see them making videos? They should have been just on this from day one, like me. But I have no competition whatsoever. Nope. You're quiet as mice. Why is that? And I'm out here talking up a storm. Why is that? Okay. I see that you guys are like trying to pump life support into this because you got some. I don't see a whole lot. I don't see a whole lot of activity. Sean Rick is over there trying to life support on his convicting a murderer. You know? That Haggerty dude. You just got a few guys, and all they do is they agree with you. They all agree with you. You know, actually, some people think that Treese is alive. Ha ha ha! Oh, those people are nuts. We don't even need to even think like that. Just she's dead. We all know she's dead, and you're absolutely, totally nuts and crazy to believe that she's alive. Well, between believing the two and having evidence, both for and against the proposition that she's dead, anti-dead information is crazy as nuts, no matter how true it may be. Teresa pops up live, but we believed the truth to be a lie. That's where it is. So why are these people just quiet as mice? Huh? Casey Oliver should have been on it. We should have seen Laura Keck come back. We should have seen Ali Appleton made a few comments, but we should see her making some videos. They should be back on. We should all be just jamming video after video after video, but yet not a one. Oh, Bruce McGuire touched on it, and a couple of them might, mention it somewhere, but nothing like me. Okay. And whoever's in charge of that comment box, it's either only I can see it and nobody else can, and you're baking me out, or everybody can see it and I got those two spots reserved for some reason. Thank you very much, What? So, we know one thing's for sure. Here. Stephen Avery saw Teresa Marie Hallbach, 6P3, Deep Joe Green, RAV4, turn left, heading northwest on Highway 147. Okay? Bobby took that vehicle, went down to Cuss Road. Oh yeah, and it went down through Cuss Road, and back in the back part, and in one trip, put it on the southwest corner of Avery Auto Salvage, parked it there. Okay, well, only two things are happening here with his Blazer. And that is, or another vehicle, could be the K95 that they found with Teresa's blood in it. Okay? Teresa could very well have been in that vehicle. But that would require somebody driving it, leaving their DNA, leaving their hair, and thus the reason why. But then that's the one that's down in the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. Shelley Cohane could not have taken it off of here and put it on there. No. What it is, somebody went down to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, got that tube out, right, and then came back and put it in there for that to go down and Shelley Cohane find it there. There's that possibility too. See, so Shelley Cohane may not have put it there, but it had been put there by somebody else other than her prior to its arrival in the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. Or it was there and Shelley Cohane put it on. But Shelley Cohane has plausible deniability that she found it that way. And that was what was brought. So that means that by putting that on there, Teresa Marie Halbach could very well have poked her finger, put some blood on Q-tip, and smeared it on there. But then that would be Teresa Marie Halbach's blood, not Stephen's. See? So where's Teresa Halbach? Where's one drop of Teresa Halbach blood anywhere? Stephen went in there and cleaned his carpet and moved his furniture around, washed all his stuff, did all that sanitary things. But unless Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey did all this in the nude, and they're carrying her out across the porch in the nude, or going to the garage in the nude, but somehow Dassey gets bleach on his clothes, but not Teresa Marie Halbach blood in this bloodbath that we're having, and there's no blood in between. There's not a drop of blood anywhere. So he can't. What's he doing? Is he shampoo, carpet cleaning his grass, going across to the And another thing, wouldn't Candace Owens being kidnapped by Ben Shapiro be ripping up that 2x4 railing and Stephen have to go up there and pound it back together? How is Stephen Avery going to get that when she's hanging on to this? Ben Shapiro cannot get Candace Owens to go do what Stephen did with Teresa Marie Halbach, according to the narrative. All right? You wouldn't have that railing. Anyway. It has to be Ryan Hillegrass was at the mailboxes where Brendan and Blaine were dropped off. Okay? Before the bus got there. Right when she was leaving. So, 2:37, 10 minutes. 2:37, which is before they get home, right? That Scott Tannick was over with Bobby. So what if Scott Tannick jumped in the vehicle with Bobby because he's hanging out at home, got the message when to go, and then they went. They knew she was there. So there's Bobby and Scott Tannick watching Teresa, and they're behind it. And then there's down here at the bottom is Ryan Hillegrass, and he pulls out and blocks her way. She can't get out. She's blocked in. He jumps out. They go open up the door. Bobby comes up from behind. He jumps out. Those two are fighting with Teresa. And they put Teresa back in her vehicle. And Ryan Hillegrass is holding her down against her will in the back of the RAV4, her RAV4. And Bobby's driving her RAV4. And he's the one that goes out there and turns up and does all this other stuff, knowing full well that he's going to be, if he doesn't have gloves on, doesn't have a hairnet on, and doesn't leave anything, there's too much chance of Bobby being involved in the interior of that vehicle for it to be Bobby. Scott Taddick's not driving it because he's going to leave Scott Taddick there, and Bobby's going to be holding Teresa down. Bobby's not going to be holding Teresa down, okay? So, who drove out? Anybody that drives that vehicle is going to leave their DNA of some sort, some dandruff, whatever, I don't know. But they have the possibility of contaminating it. Teresa Marie Halbach drove her 6P3 Deep Jewel Green herself and turned left again, turned left at Cuss Road, and she drove it through the quarry and into the back and parked it at the southwest corner of Avery Auto Salvage. That's where Teresa abandoned her vehicle at that point in time, and Bobby went around this way to meet her there to pick her up and then take off and go to Scott's place and hang out there. That way, nobody else has been in that vehicle other than Teresa. Okay? Now, Scott jumps out because we got Scott there because he had wounds and stuff. I don't see Teresa volunteering to bleed, and they're volunteering to, okay, here, put some defensive wounds on me. No, I think those defensive wounds on there was because she was fighting them. She didn't want to go. But then again, how can you record a recording like that from the past into the future and back? We don't know if that recording was taken that day. We don't know if of all the recordings 3 months ago that recording came up. Okay, it's recorded on her phone, and then you just call it up, and then you play the recording off of her phone. So they had her phone before she shows up in order to put that call in at that time, alerting them that she's on her way. Well, that's her phone. It goes back to her phone number. What's she making this call for? Wouldn't she be alerted that she's going to be kidnapped? Did Bobby Dassey and Scott Taddick volunteer to be scarred up? Was this investigation? No. So, what's going on here? Really, what part of Teresa's involved? What part of Teresa's not involved? What part of what's going on? Does Teresa know about it? Does she doesn't? There's evidence for yes, and there's evidence for no, and each are compelling in by themselves. But we have a phone call. We know one thing due to this investigation, that Chuck and Earl would be able to eavesdrop in on a party line to the Janda address and would be listening to all of her calls. And she not know it. Barbara would not know that they're listening to all their calls. Plus, they could talk back and forth between each other, and it wouldn't show up on their phone bill, I guess. Calling yourself. See, the number, they ring up, and then they both ring. See? You're calling that number, but you're on the number, so you're calling yourself. So we know that down at the office, that quasi wiretap was into the Barbara Janda phone. See? So who would be hearing this coming in? Well, it's on Barb's phone. But how does the phone coming in know which one to go to? Confusing as shit. But it's legitimate. Stephen Avery, okay, it's legitimate. Stephen Avery does not have the capabilities of doing what is said that would happen in this case. That's what it really comes down to. Somebody had to hold Teresa and drive. That takes two people. It takes three people to accomplish this. Who would be expected to be in that vehicle? If you come across, in Teresa's vehicle, you'll come across, well, the only person it can be. Ryan Hillegrass. Ryan Hillegrass had to drive. Well, who else can it be? Mike Halbach holding his sister down. I don't see Mike Halbach. I see Bobby helping Ryan Hillegrass get Teresa from in front of her car to into the back of her car. RAV4 6v3. And whoever is kidnapping her has to have been in that car before, because it cannot be contaminated by Scott Taddick, and it cannot be contaminated by Bobby Dassey. So therefore, Scott Botherdorm, Ryan Hillegrass, and Mike Halbach, those three characters would be capable of kidnapping Teresa, keeping Teresa in her vehicle, and not in Bobby Dassey's Blazer. Oh, they found Teresa here in Bobby Dassey's Blazer. So it only comes down to her family had her kidnapped. Mike Halbach had Teresa kidnapped. But then that doesn't explain the phone call. I can't come over unless you give me your address. Did that come from months ago? You know, somebody could have done that to her and then not do that to make her make that call and then never call back. You know? And here's the other one, is that 5-minute call, Teresa's bound and gagged, and Ryan's on the other side calling whoever up in Cougar's bar. Kruger. They're talking to somebody in Kruger, so it's Ryan Hillegrass, Scott Botherdorm, or Mike Halbach calling somebody, getting a phone call from Kruger's bar. And that's saying, we got Teresa, and blah, 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 having a 5-minute conversation, which is not Auto Trader, by the way. And Auto Trader is running cover. Bobby Dassey is not in Teresa Marie Halbach 6v3. Scott Taddick is not in Teresa Marie Halbach 6v3. Bobby has scratch marks. Ryan has scratch marks. They both know each other. They both have defensive wounds. Both of those defensive wounds were caused at approximately the same time frame. They're both fresh. So, Ryan Hillegrass is at the mailbox for Brendan and Blaine Dassey get off the bus just prior to the bus arriving. And Bobby Dassey is behind her, and they got the defensive wounds to prove that they were there. Because Bobby is there. He's been seen there. Stephen Avery, time frame. She's leaving. Bobby's on her ass. So we know Bobby was there, and Bobby's got scratches. Oh, Teresa Halbach there. Bobby leave right after her. Bobby come back. He's got scratches on him. Okay? Human scratches, not dog. Ryan Hillegrass shows up with scratches on his hand. Means somebody has to be at the other end. And that's Ryan Hillegrass. But who's going to drive the car? Who's going to drive Teresa's car? Other than Mike Halbach. What's Scott Bolderderm's got to do with it? He's just a roommate. Now, Mike Halbach is driving his sister's vehicle, and Stephen Avery sees his sister's vehicle, Teresa's vehicle, RAV 6B3, sees that, and Mike Halbach is driving it, and Ryan Hillegrass has got Teresa in the back, held down, and they're taking her to the mental hospital. They're going to go psych her ass up. And they got that phone call. They staged it where they called up, where she would call back unknowingly, and she's saying, I don't have your address, I can't make it out. And they used that. And they made sure it was off time. So Mike Halbach is involved in getting his sister out, and at the same time not framing Stephen Avery. It's narrowing down, folks, to pretty close precision to what's actually happening according to what the evidence is presenting us. And that's it. Nobody could be in that vehicle other than somebody that's been in that vehicle before, because you don't want the cross-contamination. Mike Halbach's involved. Ryan Hillegrass is involved. And those two are at the other end, because one has to drive and one has to hold her down. Bobby Dassey and Scott Taddock are over here at the other end because they were there. And just because Bobby's blazer was gone doesn't mean Bobby and Scott were gone. Okay, and Scott was over there before. When did he leave? So you got two guys on the bottom, you got two guys over here, you got Teresa in the middle. You have to use Teresa in her vehicle with people that's been in their vehicle before, and therefore Mike Halbach's driving, and Ryan's holding her down. Ryan's driving, Mike's holding her down, but those two have to do something to get her into the mental ward, and that makes one hell of a lot more sense than everything Stephen Avery is supposed to have done. Okay. Now, we need that RAV4 to be parked back here in the back. So fine, they take Teresa, Scott, and Mike, drive Teresa's RAV4 in through the back, and they park it there, and then they get out, close the doors, and then now they're in Bobby's blazer they all take off in Bobby's blazer. Well, now we got Teresa in Bobby's blazer. So, thus comes in a blue something other, right? Some other vehicle. Anything else? What was that vehicle that was burned? There was a vehicle that caught fire, and they said it was stolen. What vehicle was that? And where was it? It's interesting. Maybe Teresa was in that, and then they burned it up to get rid of all traces of Teresa. Whatever. I don't know. You guys know. We can crowdsource this, okay? Yeah. There you go. That's really the story there, because if you're going to kidnap her, you're going to kidnap her there. Period. That's it. Okay? So. Anybody else can narrow this down any closer to basically what I'm telling you? Because that's pretty airtight right there. If you're going to kidnap her, you got her on the road, and it's only one exit, and you're going to block that exit so that she doesn't get out on the highway, And then you have to chase her down the highway, be all out there. Hopefully nobody's coming down the road to get a part. That's roll the dice there. But if Teresa Marie Halbach is going to be kidnapped against her will, that's the spot. If Teresa Marie Halbach is going to be a part of some type of disappearing act, it's going to happen right there. That's where your locations are. Where your phone goes and pings and all this other stuff is basically immaterial, because Teresa Halbach's vehicle, identified by 5 of her girlfriends, was down here on the property, and that's where it was on the night, midnight 31st. Actually, it arrived there probably around the same time that Brendan and Blaine Dassey were getting off the bus, is when they were parking on the back there. They took Teresa out and they put her in something else and drove away. Went to the mental ward, dropped her off. Okay? Now, on the 3rd, what we have is Teresa Marie Halbach is reported missing on the 3rd. Well, guess what? We got Teresa Marie Halbach's vehicle sitting down here in the Avery Auto Salvage on the 3rd. So Herman and those guys took it into impound, but they left it there. They didn't take it. And then, what about those lights back there? One night they was talking about those lights. And then over here we got Bobby pushing the blue one that's being seen. That's as close as we can get it down, narrow it, folks, to actually what happened. Is Teresa made it 1,000 feet and then she was kidnapped, or she went into protective custody of some sort, and they just housed her in a mental ward for safekeeping. It's a safe house. But what we do know for a fact is that Teresa left Stephen Avery unharmed, because you can't prove the Stephen Avery case. You can definitely disprove the Stephen Avery case at every turn, but the proof is in the pudding. 2 people, close association, one standing there looking at the other one's ex-girlfriend, right? Knowing that she goes out to the Averys, involved in this, recruited into this scheme. They want to kidnap her, but not set Stephen Avery. There's a whole lot of not set Stephen Avery up from pretty much everybody, with the exception of those that ordered him set up. You can see there's a distinct line right there. Higher ups, lower echelon. Lower echelon, the Kane mutiny, Mutiny on the bounty. There we go. We're not going to do this. There it is. It's all compact, simple, precise. Shit. Teresa could just drop her vehicle off and be sitting in the back office smoking a cigarette, having a beer. You don't know. But you do know that she wasn't murdered by Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. That just patently did not happen.